It must be the holiday season because look at this. We're not in our usual spots. Michael Langston, he is outside of the legendary tailgate spot that is Indian Village near Florida State campus. I'm down in Palm Harbor. We're talking about Florida State's new commits. New commits, 3 of them out of the transfer portal for Florida State, the latest of which, Michael, is tight end Randy Pittman, someone who's committed to Florida State not that long ago out of high school. It comes full circle. What do you know about that recruitment, and what is Florida State getting in Randy Pittman out of UCF?
Yeah, Randy's a really good addition. A guy that really does a really good job getting open. He has no problem getting separation in routes. That's something he stood out in his high school days. He played over there at Panama City Mosley. A guy that they did a little bit of everything. They go 700 yards, 14 touchdowns, something like that, and then they ran him a lot in goal line situations. So maybe that's something they pull together. With here at FSU, I don't know, but just a really good pickup because that room needed to be, expanded just on depth wise. You lost a lot of, guys as far as depth. Mari Williams might be moving to, defensive end. So I think having some more depth there was a really big key. Love this kid a lot. I've liked him a lot for a while. When I watch him, not that it's going to end up the same way, but he reminds me a lot of a former Nole that was only here for a short time in Brandon Warren. He made a kid at high school, kind of similar, 6'2", 6'2" area, but man, just does so much separation and his hands are phenomenal. So really good pass catching tight end that's going to certainly play a lot, I think, early on and certainly help that room with Landon and those guys. So I think a very good pickup for that tight end room.
Yeah, between what they have with the young kids, they just brought in the kid out of Nebraska in the 2025 class, Michael. And if Amari Williams does move to the defensive side of the ball, they've got something here with Randy Pittman, who had over 400 yards receiving for UCF last year. So this isn't one of those players that you're looking for somebody to realize potential. He was already producing at UCF. Another UCF kid that Florida State landed is an offensive lineman. You would figure that Florida State would land at least one offensive lineman from Gus Malzahn and Herb Hand's old location, and they did so on Saturday, and that is guard Adrian Medley, who said yes to Florida State. What was that visit like, and what was? I know these things go fast, Michael. It's they call it speed dating, but what did you learn about this recruitment as he arrived on campus and then quickly said yes to Florida State?
Yeah, I think felt coming in the visit that as long as everything clicked and it was gonna go well. A kid that's originally from Pensacola, Florida, so there's a lot of ties in state with FSU, and certainly being around Coach Hand, I think, was a big deal. It was almost like he let the cat out of the bag just on our interview yesterday and the post interview. Just you could tell, like, okay, this basically he's taking one visit and he's like, this is the only one I'm taking, and I'm going to announce tomorrow. And it was kind of like non-dramatic, unlike a lot of these other ones where they'll tell you and then, later they'll commit. But I mean, he was kind of like, you felt like, hey, this is going to be in here soon. Really good guard, really good experienced guard that is going to add a lot. I think he mentioned left guard in my interview that we did with him, and certainly adds a lot to that interior position for FSU. And the more the merrier with offensive line. I think everyone gets a little more giddy every time you see an offensive lineman, jump in with FSU. And I think they announced that he signed as well. So I think everything is official and done there. But I think overall, just really putting together that room. Now I think you have, 3 or around that. Or it will be around there. I don't know if it's at 3 yet, but overall, just really addressing that room, and more guys are coming in. As far as visits today, so there's going to be a lot more, and they're really, you can tell, kind of chatted with different media people that they've really put the focus on this offensive line, where they really want to get the majority and the chunk of the offensive line, done before, we finish that, 22nd is kind of the last day that they'll visit in the month of December, and then January 1st to the 5th that you could host visitors as well, or a little beyond that, depending on your add and drop dates. But I think overall they made it imperative. Certainly they're trying to get more, maybe another offensive tackle, but I think overall you can tell this is the biggest position for them from my perspective, with the way they're bringing so many in to make sure they get the job done. I think Micah Pettis is already here, offensive tackle from Ole Miss, and so they're trying to close that out. And then there's a few more that are probably going to visit. So I think overall their hope is to probably get 4 or 5 by the time they're done with this cycle.
Feels like Micah Pettis is a big one if they can close it. I mean, not just literally because he's a huge dude, but then also again, a true tackle. You're bringing in a true tackle. I know if he's not the largest name on campus, then he's second largest to Deuce Robinson, wide receiver, who's spending another day with Florida State. Michael, he canceled a visit to Louisville to hang out around Florida State for another day. They're going to the basketball game this afternoon, so we'll keep you up to date there on Warchant TV, but we would be remiss if we didn't talk about defensive end transfer Deontay McCrae, who was also officially announced by Florida State today. Michael, he's out of Western Kentucky, and 6'4", 283 pounds. Holy cow, this is a large man.
Yeah, and he doesn't look that big. When you see him in person, he looks like he's a guy that's 240. When you look at him, his body, he holds his weight so well. He was actually joking. He's like, no, that's actually how much I weigh. Like, I'm actually that way, but he just carries it really well. Very productive guy, especially against the run. It's going to add a lot to their team. I mean, you look at his productive and even his pass defense numbers. I mean, I think he adds a lot to the team. He's going to give a lot of productivity to that edge position, and you pair him up there with a guy, Nebraska like James Williams that they also got. I think it's a big deal.
Yeah, well, we hope your day out there, everybody, is going better than SMU and Kevin Jennings. It's an awful day in the college football playoff for SMU. Florida State is off to a hot start again this weekend. That's now 3 commits out of the transfer portal for Florida State. We'll keep you up to date here on Warchant TV. I do want to ask one more thing of you, Michael, if you're not being harassed by anybody in that neighborhood.
There's just people coming behind me in cars. I didn't want to get run over, so that's kind of what I was looking at. But go ahead.
As long as you're in a safe place.
I am.
Just from what I heard from the Deuce Robinson camp, extremely impressed with the first day on campus. Obviously, you don't extend a visit without being impressed.
Yeah.
But it sounds like Florida State, I know Pete Nakos put in an RPM for Florida State to close. Sounds like the vibes have been pretty good for Deuce since they got on campus yesterday officially. Yeah,
I think it's trending in a good direction, as I put on the boards last night. I think there was a lot of personal time with Thomas Castanelas. So I think being around him and I think was a big deal. I think the fact that Thomas was there right when they got there, almost there together for the visit right when they arrived with the greetings. And I think it says a lot when you have your future quarterback there and shows you how much a priority Deuce was. And it was kind of weird, like Deuce, like immediately right when he got there, he wanted to pose in front of the Bowden statue for a picture immediately. So it's not a terrible sign, that you immediately do that. But one of the best greetings I can remember seeing, and I've seen a lot of these at FSU, a very, very impactful, greeting and jubilant greeting of really letting him know like how much they want him, and assuming it continues throughout the day, you have to believe it's trending in a pretty positive direction so far with FSU.
3 commits for Florida State in the last 24 hours of the transfer portal. Defensive end Deontay McCrae, offensive lineman out of UCF Adrian Medley, and now from UCF again, Randy Pittman, tight end. Productivity coming to Florida State. We'll keep you locked in at warchant.com with all the latest developments. Michael, hopefully your arms aren't too sore. We appreciate the time you made for us outside of campus, and we'll be looking forward to those updates. Thanks, man.
It's all good, bud.
All right. Talk to you all next time right here on Warchant TV.